kind of take the lead. Hi, everyone. We'll wait for a couple of people to show up. Hi. Oh my goodness, there's people already on. Um, we are going to do a short video today that is talking about why it's so hard for people to leave Scientology and what the difference is. And whether or not there's a zillion of us or one of us or five of us, this video is going to be educational purposes. So people may join us as we get going, and if not, that's okay too. But first I want to introduce Audit LA. If you don't already know Audit LA, she is just a fabulous person that we work really well together. She does, of course, auditing in the LA area, and she's an expert at all things ADA and all things Scientology protesting. So it's a pleasure to work with her on this. And we have some different projects going right now where people keep asking us this question, and it would just be so much easier to give them a video to describe what what the problem is with Scientology. Audit, do you want to say anything to get going, or do you want
Yes,
us
well, I want
just
to
to go
thank
ahead?
you. I want to thank you for having me on, and I want to say hi to everybody watching. And this actually, Mona's the expert in everything ADA. She's teaching me something every day to help me be better at what I try to do with that. And so it is a lot of teamwork going on. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I know a lot of people are asking, was anything being done? And there is. It's just that we can't always just come out with what we're doing. We don't want to always let everyone know what we're doing. So it's not that we're trying to be secretive, but anyway,
No,
go ahead.
that's exactly right though, but in order to get some of this stuff done, you can't have hurdles be thrown into your way, or else you're just not going to be able to get them done. So it has to be done in pseudo secrecy. That's just the way the ball bounces right now.
Mhm.
So, just leaving Scientology, there's a quick comparison to other faiths that I've had so many people, especially legislatures and authority figures, that say, what's the difference if you're a Catholic or a Muslim, Hindu, even Jehovah Witness or Mormons a lot of the times. If you want to leave or change that religion or change that faith, you just do. It's just one day you're a Catholic and the next day you don't go to a Catholic church. Maybe you go to a Protestant church. And there may be some difference in beliefs or different in practices, but it's not a big ordeal. It just happens to be a change in your thought process more than anything else. And so I do get the question quite often of, well, why can't they just leave? Why can't a Scientologist just not be a Scientologist? And one of the things is to answer that is you have to kind of relate this really to an abusive relationship, unfortunately. There are ways that the handlers try to keep you under control as a Scientologist. And as a reminder, the doctrine and policies and practices of the Church of Scientology, the basics are auditing, ethics handling, and courses. Those are the three ways that Scientology has their religious services. And they're not free like most religions. They where tithing and donations are donated or given. um, Auditing, ethics handling, and courses are a fee for service model. So when you're looking at that, um, there's repercussions of not being in the faith anymore. And I say that with apostrophes going into that. Um, Quick summary of the types of Scientologists. There are the public Scientologist, a staff and a Sea Org. I know you don't have it in front of you, but do you want to discuss a little bit of what a public Scientologist is, Audit?
Sure. A public Scientologist is somebody who they live in the community with all of us, could be your next door neighbor. They have jobs. And they provide a lot of money because they're not in the Sea Org where it's we always hear the 120-hour work week for $50. This is not them. These people have careers, jobs, and they contribute both with donations that is asked of them, but also by paying for all these services at full price.
Right. And there's a lot of folks that are in the public that are celebrities or Grant Cardone or the Duggins family, to where they are quite wealthy, and so they provide quite a lot of money generated back into the Scientology.
I'd like to add that Nancy Cartwright too, is from what I understand, she provided all the money needed to rehab the building that is now the NoHo Scientology building.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes,
Yeah, so you have, your Tom Cruises and your um Christy Alley. I mean, you have all sorts of different public figures that provide a lot of the money that they need for this. So the second type are the staff, and the staff are folks that sign either a 2.5 or a 5-year contract. They work at the orgs, whether they're the ideal org or the missions, and they have duties such as the HR department. They call it something else. I think they call it an HCO. Sales, the registrars, event planning, manual labor, media production, where all of the videos and all of the um, celebrity centers, that's where most of the staff work. They don't make money as in an hourly wage, but they do make a sales commission, usually 10 or 20% of whatever sales they bring in. And sales, again, is services such as the courses, ethics handling, auditing, or book sales, media sales, whatever production, whatever money they make, they earn a commission. Unfortunately, their commission that they make is based on making sure that they make their weekly stats, or that they sell enough to pay the rent of the organization that they're working at. And that's kind of, as a side note, is their rent that they pay on those organizations happens to be for organizations that was already paid for by the public and by events and donations. So they're paying on top of. So if they don't make enough in their sales for the week, that gets taken out of their commissions because somebody still has to pay the piper. So that's unfortunate, but so a staff person may or may not make enough to, they may have to have a second job in order to have their job as a staff member. That sounds absolutely ludicrous, but that's the case. Do you want to take on Sea Org? What a Sea Org member is?
sure, sure. Sea Org, that's their almost like their clerical, that's their elite group, and it was originally based on naval, the idea of like naval military. And when you join a Sea Org, you're signing a billion-year contract because they believe you just keep going, living life, and keep coming and going and recycling ad infinitum. And so you're signing up for a billion years. You are subject to all different kinds of contracts with that agreement,
Hmm.
and you are going to be housed by them. You're going to be assigned, and you kind of are disconnected from the outside world. They do not live outside with the community. They have very limited access to even emails. Everything's very monitored, very controlled. They are working very long, hard hours. You know, that's where we hear about the 110 hours a week for very little pay, like roughly $50 a week. And then they still have to purchase their own shampoo, soap, deodorant out of that money. So this is,
Mhm.
and they are devoting their entire life to Scientology and to the York.
And they're not allowed to date, and if they do date or have what they call consider 2D flowing, they have to be married, and they are not allowed to have children, and if they do become pregnant, then they have to either terminate the pregnancy or leave the Sea organization, and that's just part of the deal, that's part of their contract that they sign. And what about the RPF audit?
Yeah, that's where it's almost like their own. I want to equate it to a jail system and court system and punishment, corrections, where, and it can be not for crimes or anything very significant. It could be whatever they feel when you're out of ethics. If you're not, you know, and your ethics officer says that you're out of ethics, then you're going to have some kind of consequence. And it could be confinement, it could be whatever they choose it to be for you. And also, I want to state too that they do not see children, I mean, as children, they see them as adults in small bodies. So it's not, you have to sign at 18, you get to sign up this billionaire contract. They have minors under 18 signing billionaire contracts, which
That's
goes against
correct.
everything that our legal system allows.
Yep, that's correct. So when somebody says, I want to leave Scientology, they're really saying they either want to not become a public anymore, they don't want to be on staff anymore, or they don't want to be in the Sea Org anymore. So when they say that, the first thing their ethics handler will say is, okay, we'll come back in for more courses. And a lot of times you are financially strapped and stressed because of having to pay for, especially if you're public or a staff member. And so having to go back in for more courses, ethics handling or auditing, just increases that stress because it's adding to the bill. It just doesn't make sense. And it's adding to the stress of what you're trying to get away from. So at that point, you still want to say, oh, no, I still want to leave. And then they come up with the old, well, the world is going to suffer and the world's not going to be cleared. And they're going to put that weight on your shoulder of the planet not being cleared. Do you want, what is a definition of cleared audit? I hear you, baby. Stop whining. Sorry, you guys. My dog's having a.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, clear is when you get to a state where you're it's hard to even explain. Like I'm going to stumble on this one because it's very confusing, but it's where you are clear to where you can now enter a different level, like the OT levels, and you've dealt with your Deaton's and everything you've gone through your auditing, and you're now at a level of clear to where you can now progress to the next levels. And they want the entire world to get clear, and it's going to help deal with. It's supposed to help save mankind, and
So L. Ron Hubbard's definition was achieving the state of clear means a person has supposedly overcome the reactive mind and is in complete control of their analytical mind. A clear is a being who is no longer has his own reactive mind and therefore suffers none of the ill effects and the reactive mind can cause. And if you are not clear, then you are the reason for all the illness and ill will of society and the bad things that happen to you in life.
yeah, I like to right jump in there too and say that they do blame you that anything that happens to you, if you stub your toe, if you have a disease, anything, you brought this on to yourself. And it may not be from this lifetime, it could be from previous lifetimes. So you have to do enough auditing to figure out why you have whatever issues you have, why you have them, and then to deal with those effectively to get towards clear.
Right, true. So then a person says, "No, I still wanna leave even though the weight of the world may be on my shoulder." They're gonna say, "Well, you're not gonna prosper. You'll end up flipping burgers the rest of your life." And financial ruin is threatened to those that leave. The person will not be able to take care of themselves and will suffer immensely. But truth be told, flipping burgers pays way better than the $47 a week from the Sea Org, or 0 if they don't make their stats as a staff member. The threat is always there that a person won't have a bed to sleep in or a house to live in. But truth is that the staff and the Sea Org members share living spaces with many others as it is, more like an overcrowded dorm room. An example of that is they just busted the hotel down in Clearwater where they had 6 to 9 beds in a single hotel room with 1 bathroom, and that's just ludicrous to have that many people stuffed into a room, and those were the people going to course to become the administrative, like Chiron, the guy that's now running the San Francisco org. They had them all stuffed into those itty bitty little rooms. That's ridiculous. So I'm not too sure where the threat is there, but they do threaten that. So the next thing is you won't have your identity documents, because they lock them up for safekeeping. Do you want to add to that part of it?
Yes, they do. They hold, whether you're underage or an adult, they hold your documents. And, you may be from a different country, your visas, everything. So you need those things. And we know in real life, we could just go and duplicate that. But they don't realize that. A lot of people, they don't realize they can just go ask for help and they can get all these things. They make it sound like you're never going to be able to go anywhere or do anything or find a job or go anywhere because you don't have your documents and you won't be able to travel. So it's just a lot of intimidation, manipulation, and fear mongering.
It is, and that's a huge threat, isn't it? Yeah,
It
that's just
is.
ridiculous. So, and I am kind of going quickly on these because we really want this to be an educational video that people can quickly see and hear what the issues are. So the next would be you may lose your friends and your loved ones. Disconnection is a huge policy for Scientology. No matter what they say that they don't do disconnection anymore. Yes, they do. It's today. It happens every day. Um, People leaving Scientology that are declared suppressive persons, SPs, will not get to talk with their loved ones, their relatives, or their friends again. And this can include where they work if their employment is a Scientology company. So they may lose their employment right off the bat the next day. They are shunned for life or until they become in good standing with the church. And this can be the demarcation line for many people that are under the radar folks wanting to leave, but not wanting to lose everything that they know. That's a huge issue for folks. Do you wanna add anything to that about it?
Yes, and I think when you're in a Sea Org, they actually start preparing you with that truth because they monitor your emails. You basically, everyone within your world has to be within Scientology. You have very controlled, limited access to people, family members, friends from your previous life before joining Sea Org. They limit that drastically.
What about the freeloader debt?
Oh, yeah, the freeloader that basically if you leave, because you sign contracts, so if you're in a Sea Org, you're only making a certain $47 a week. You obviously can't afford these services. So as you're leveling up, they help provide these services. But if you break your billion-year contract, you then have to pay them back. And because of the contract, so far in the United States courts has upheld the contracts for arbitration. And and I know that's going to be a future thing we're going to talk about, but that's a very serious threat, because not only are you leaving without a job, without family, you're leaving with a massive amount of debt
I
that's
said I
enforceable.
went through some old contracts that I had found online that were sent to me, and one was $40,000 freeloader bill, and that was a true bill. One was 30,000, and one was 55,000. That's like having a well, maybe not a PhD, but it's certainly a master's degree that you didn't get a master's degree level whatsoever for that service. So that's ridiculous. And then if you ever want to come back, you have to make amends um, as doing community service and paying back your freeloader debt in order to even talk to your friends and family again or to come back as a public. So you don't have to come back as staff or Sea Org, but even to just come back to the church and be talked to, you have to pay all that money back and do community service. So at that point, you say, nope, I still want to leave. So what they're going to do is they're going to hand you $500 and then they're going to say, we'll take you to the bus stop, but you need to remember those 4 contracts you signed in order just to get services, just to be a public, not just the staff in the Sea Org, which signs the billion-year contract, but even just to be a public, you have to sign these 4 contracts. And the 4 contracts are the employment contract, no psychiatry contract, the arbitration clauses, and that they are a religion. I don't know what Catholic church I've ever gone to or Presbyterian church I've ever gone to that I had to sign contracts saying that they were a religion, but okay, well, whatever. So when we started talking about that, um, you can't ever say anything bad about them. And part of that document says, and I have these 4 documents. Oh no, Nora has done a beautiful job of explaining these 4 contracts and the billion-year contract. And I've got that link in the description. So that way you can go back and you can pull these contracts and see for yourself that we're not sitting here lying. We're not over qualifying these whatsoever. These are exactly what they say. So you can't sue them, and nobody on your behalf can ever sue them, ever. That's what these documents say. Um, do you want to talk about a little bit more about the arbitration?
Yes, well, arbitration, they decide. Well, first of all, you don't get any representation. They decide who arbitrates. It's their people doing the arbitration. It's completely in their control. And you're basically just sitting there and you're going to receive whatever judgment they decide. And
Do you get
I'm
a
going to
lawyer?
guess you do not get a lawyer, no representation at all. And we can kind of assume how it's going to end up. But
Right,
until the US courts say, no, this is unjust, that this is not legitimate, they get away with this. Because as of yet, the US court system has not shut this down at all. It's still
right.
going on as of today.
There's 2 different cases right now. One is so if we have any legislators or um, legal people that are reviewing this, the Valerie Haney case right now is dealing with the arbitration issues, unjust, ungodly arbitration issues. And then there's another case out of Florida where the 2 ladies are from Australia, so they were trafficked into the United States. And I know you need to get going. I'm sorry, Audit. I'll be quick. We're
I'm
almost
good.
done.
We're good.
So, so those are the 2 cases, and I will put the names of the court cases in the description. And hopefully we'll get some good results on those cases. So the last piece that I wanted to talk about is the psychiatry agreement saying you will never go in for psychiatry, and if you do, they can come take you out of the hospital.
That's, I mean, we all know that how important mental health is, and everyone has a right to pursue mental health as you would physical, health or any kind of health, and to sign a contract that you will not pursue that anything that you may need for your well-being is tragic. And I'm sorry, I'm moving to get out of
That's okay.
the noisy area over there. But it's just sad, and but you sign this, and that you give them permission, even though you want to leave, that they can just come and take you out of a hospital. I mean, look what happened to Lisa McPherson too, or whatever, trying to needing help, and they can prevent you from getting help. They
Absolutely. And
choose
what
what
the other was
hospital and
Whitney
when.
Whitney Mills? Was that her name? Whit,
Ho-
Whitney
Uh,
Mills, was that the other lady?
I'm not sure. I don't want to say yes or no on that.
I think that's her name, but I'll double check on that. But yeah, Lisa McPherson was a prime example of the horrific nature of this no psychiatry. And it's just unreal that somebody could even sign those documents and they could be legit. Just
And that the right.
definitely unreal.
And that the court is not stepping in. That the court is just letting them do their thing and not intervening. That's what we really have to scream the loudest, to have a real system look at these contracts and arbitrations and really look into it. But it's going to take one group or one entity to have the courage to do that.
Mm. Well, hopefully this educational video, because this isn't just for the Lisa McPhersons, this is about children that are signing these documents. They have um, people that are signing for the children sign, and then when they turn 18, they make them re-sign these documents. So this is unreal that this can even be a part of our society now. So it is definitely unreal. Audit, I told you I wanted to make this. I know you've got a 3:30 appointment,
No, I'm
and I
good. I mean, I'm
so
good.
appreciate it.
Thank you. But if you need to go further, we can. I have a little bit more time than that. So
Well,
it's up to you.
I honestly have not been looking at the I am so sorry, you guys. It's not that I forgot. So if there's any questions, if anybody has any questions,
Can I add one more thing while you're looking up the questions?
you bet.
I made it when I first got involved with the protesting, when I first met Laura FM, our beloved Laura. I made a video, and she said, I was asking her about the leaving process and why it's not so easy to leave. And she was explaining that the process that you go through, and she goes, but it's completely designed to keep you in, not to let you go, because they go through a lot of months of, they had to be isolated, they had to go through auditing, they had to do all these different things. But she said it's very much to keep you in. And I'll never
Yeah.
forget those words. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's definitely a mental screw.
Yes.
Definitely a mental hurdle that you have to deal with. And it's unfortunate, but that is the reason why it's not just like, okay, I'm not Catholic today, I'm Presbyterian or I'm Mormon or whatever. If you're not free to leave, darling, you're in a cult.
Right. And I can't imagine going to church. I've been to Bible study. I don't have to pay to go. Like, they invite you to come because they want you to learn the tenets. You don't have to pay for it. And
Yeah,
it's just I can't get my mind wrapped around that everything you do to grow, to get the world clear, you have to pay for. And that's more, like I said, it's a business model, because a truly religious model, they would want you to do this because it's going to save the world. Yes, they're going to say, hey, we want you to tithe, we want you to do this, but to make absolutely that everything costs,
right.
how is that Like how is that their end goal really wanting the world to be clear? Because they're making it to where maybe most people can't do it. So if it was really that important, you'd make it free so everyone can do it, right? To get the world clear, if that was really their intention.
Right.
So
Well, they certainly made it a nice little MLM model where if you can't afford it, we'll let you work for your supper, sing for your supper. And then if you don't want to do the dishes, well, we're going
yeah,
to make you pay for it afterwards. So, yeah,
yes.
definitely. Okay, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Audit, thank you so much. I
Thank
really, really
you. Thank you,
appreciate it,
chat.
darling.
Oh,
Okay, you
sure.
guys, we're going to end it. Thank you much.
Bye, everyone.